Why would UFOs hover around schools? Do they want to study human beings as children and to learn about them, whilst knowing that they would not be shot at or attacked by them? Maybe they purposely want the children to witness them so the children would get used to the idea that UFOs and aliens do indeed exist. The following 4 incidences of UFO school sightings are probably the most famous over the last 50 years. Number 4, 1994, Ariel School, Rua, Zimbabwe. On the 14th of September 1994, a UFO streaked across the sky over southern Africa. 2 days later, something landed in a schoolyard in Rua, Zimbabwe. On Friday the 16th of September, at approximately 10:15 a.m, 62 children from the primary school in Rua were playing in a field for the mid-morning break. Suddenly, they saw 3 silver balls in the sky over the school and then started to move towards the school, with one of them landing over a section of rough ground. Later, about 10 or 12 older children were interviewed for BBC television. One student, called Barry, said he had seen 3 objects flying over with flashing red lights. They then landed near some gum trees. The object came down about 100 metres from the edge of the school playing field. Then a small man, approximately 1 metre in height, appeared on top of the object and was dressed in a shiny, tight-fitting black suit. He had a long, scrawny neck and huge eyes like a rugby ball, with a pale face and long black hair coming down below his shoulders. He then walked a little way across the rough ground, became aware of the children, and disappeared. Then the object took off very rapidly and then vanished. The children drew about 30 to 40 drawings, some of which are very explicit and clear. Most of the descriptions are similar, and the crafts were very obviously flying saucers. Number 3, 1977, Broadhaven Primary School, Pembrokeshire, Wales. On the February the 7th, 1977, 14 children at Broadhaven School, South Wales, had witnessed the UFO that had landed in the field close to the school, where 6 children reported seeing a humanoid figure. The sighting had frightened the pupils, who were adamant that they had witnessed something out of the ordinary. One pupil, called David, who was 10 years old, said that they were standing at the top end of the school playing field when the object was sighted, and he described a silver cigar-shaped object the size of a bus hovering up above the trees as if trying to take off. It seemed to stop for a few seconds and then disappear back behind the trees. Another student, called Philip, said he was trying to get a close look when up from the bushes popped a cigar-shaped object. It was silvery, bright and humming. Another student, called Jeremy, described it as silvery green with a yellow-orange to red coloured light. It was a disc at the bottom and a dome and light on top. He stated that the sighting lasted not more than 5 minutes, and that when the object was on the ground, he saw a person in a silvery suit. Number 2, 1967, Crestview Elementary School, Miami, Florida. On a mostly clear day on the 7th of April 1967, hundreds of students and a few teachers at Crestview Elementary School witnessed 3 oval-shaped objects coming through the clouds. Teachers and students alike watched as the 2 smaller of the 3 oval objects appeared to be dancing around the larger oval-shaped object coming down towards them. The larger object seemed to be the size of a cruise ship, but its shape was oval and cigar-shaped with shiny metal, and the large object landed in the field near the school. Afterwards, one of the teachers talked to one of the students' mothers, who said that if you hear that something had landed next to the portable, it was true. She said that she was worried about her job, so she wasn't supposed to talk about it. The military soon appeared at the school and interviewed the teachers and students. As is the case with many other UFO sightings, the incident was hushed up and the local newspaper wrote it up as helicopters landing near the school. The students were allowed to go home early that day, and after a short time later, one of the students went to the field where the UFO had landed and found a field of weeds and grass that appeared to be charred and smashed into an oval shape and seemed to be the size of a large boat, the remains of something that had recently been lying there. Number 1, 1966, Westall High School, Melbourne, Victoria, Australia. Almost 1 year before the Crestview School incident, UFOs were sighted and one actually landed near Westall High School in Melbourne, Victoria, Australia On the 6th of April 1966, at approximately 11 a.m, a class of students and a teacher from Westall High School were playing on the main oval when an object described as being a grey saucer-shaped craft with a slight purple hue and being about the size of a family car was seen. Andrew Greenwood, a science teacher, told the local newspaper, the Dandenong Journal, that he saw a silvery green disc. According to witnesses, the object started to descend and then crossed and overflew the high school's southwest corner before disappearing from sight and came down behind some trees into a paddock in front of the school in an area called the Grange. Some of the students from the high school ran across the paddock and witnessed the UFO close up, with one student fainting as she approached the craft. After about 20 minutes, the object, with witnesses now numbering over 300, ascended and departed. Within minutes, the military arrived and forbade any contact with the media. A school teacher who had taken photos from inside the school had the film and camera confiscated by authorities. Now the teacher had become hysterical and was taken away in a straitjacket. The UFO had left burn marks on the ground and had been witnessed by a university student, but when he had returned the following day to show some friends, the whole area had been fenced off and the ground dug up. The next day, 2 men from the government interviewed a couple of students who had witnessed the UFOs. The students claimed that they were mocked and laughed at by the men as they tried to get them to deny what they had seen. As with previous UFO sightings, authorities said it was a weather balloon and the whole event had been hushed up for many years. If you're enjoying this video, don't forget to hit like. It really helps to keep the channel growing. And if you're new here, subscribe and tap the bell icon so you never miss our latest videos. We've got lots of strange and fascinating stories coming up, and we'd love to have you along for the journey. The Human Genome Project was completed in 2003 and was set up in order to discover more about our human blueprint, where some scientists believe human DNA did not originate on this planet. The scientists found that 97% of the non-coding sequences, also known as junk DNA, couldn't be explained by evolution. Where most of us have Neanderthal DNA, that is just a small part of us, and if that is the case, does it not make sense that if aliens have been visiting Earth for thousands of years, there is a good possibility that they have been tinkering with our DNA to help us in our advancements? Consider the amount of people that claim they've been abducted, and they describe the various types of aliens that had operated on them. Today, let's explore these 6 signs that you may have alien-coded DNA. Number 6. The science. It appears aliens have always had a say in our progress in assisting us to become more civilized. There have been hundreds of cases of people claiming that when they were abducted, they had either semen or eggs removed from them or fertilized eggs planted in them in order to create an alien-human hybrid. And if this is the case, could this mean that certain life forms on Earth carry a genetic code from extraterrestrials helping us to create this new life form on Earth? And if many of us are not from Earth originally, then where are we from and which race of these non-humans are we related to? For years, only 3% of our DNA was understood. Some renowned scientists have hypothesized that our DNA code was not written on Earth but embedded in our genetic code from outside the solar system, possibly billions of years ago. If we do have ancient roots in other planets, then maybe that would account for the otherworldly connections felt by so many. There appear to be many alien races who, like humans, have evolved over time. Number 5. The science. The following are certain unusual characteristics that some people have that may make them stand out and felt alienated from others, such as having paranormal experiences, constantly feeling homesick, feeling they have a mission, are highly sensitive, have always felt like an outsider, always having vivid dreams, are telepathic or are sufferers of tinnitus, have always appeared wise and had an understanding. Judging by the incredible size of the universe, there is a huge possibility that there are many alien races, where some may be less advanced than us and others could be much more advanced than us by thousands or billions of years. It would be mind-boggling to think of their advanced technology or personal growths compared to us. So, let us explore this alien realm and discuss, through some people's own personal experiences and descriptions, the following 4 alien species that are considered the most common. Could some of the following aliens have had their DNA mixed with humans? And if so, do you fit any of the characteristics or traits of the following? Number 4. The Pleiadians. These aliens are supposedly highly intelligent, gentle and telepathic, and can draw people in. Normally they are tall in stature and fair-skinned. Ears might be lower than normal, and their eyes are often shaped slightly upwards. They are more inward-thinking rather than extroverts, and would be prone to feeling uneasy in social gatherings. Because they are very intelligent, they are sometimes teased. All forms of justice is very important to them. They have very high energy, but it's more mental than physical. They need low-key downtime and plenty of food and rest. They have a strong physical awareness, and when they are ill, they usually know what's wrong with them. They are very loving and caring, but the priorities are committed to purpose itself. However, they will not commit to anyone and could not be monogamous, as they don't have the need to feel attached in the way humans do, and it's important they don't feel trapped. Their mission here on Earth is of the utmost importance to them. Number 3. The Arcturians. These highly advanced hybrids are attracted to healing on many levels. Places such as Atlantis and Egypt drew them in. Their eyes are often a piercing light colour and high cheekbones. They don't seem to age and need little sleep and food. They are telepathic in nature and are constantly absorbing information on many levels. They also tend to leave their bodies a great deal of the time, especially as children. In nature, they often get shocked and are always trying to keep the peace and like to assist others, but are not competitive by nature. They can be very emotional. Dreams are often vivid and can be important learning experiences for them. Most believe they have some type of contract here on Earth. They understand the importance of protecting themselves against negative entities. Arcturians feel like there is a spiritual revolution coming. Number 2. Sirians. Now, we're not talking about the Sirians on Earth, but the alien ones, who are fascinated by sacred geometry, black holes, and most things celestial. Most have out-of-body experiences and can quite often be diagnosed with ADHD and Asperger's. Focusing can be difficult for them. However, when they are interested in something, they then become very focused and determined. They can forget things easily, especially if it's of a trivial nature. They are not great at communication and often have difficulty expressing their feelings and needs. They often miss innuendos and get hurt easily. Once these people are convinced of something, they will shift their beliefs and patterns quickly. They have been known to fight for causes, but they are not fighters. They do not like open expressions of anger or arguing. They are loyal and trusting, but only once they know you and will expect the same loyalty back. They don't like to share personal space. Privacy is important. They can be dreamers and often have disillusioned expectations. Known to be calm and reserved, Sirians are very agile and cat-like in movement, often feeling a connection to Egypt. They are humble and have a high level of personal integrity. Number 1. The Orions. These eclectic beings are drawn to music and vibrations. They're often either playing or listening to music, and they communicate through sound and are good artists. Many are musicians or have careers in technology, engineering, construction, or pharmaceutics. They eat small amounts of food through the day, usually more plant-based. Digestion issues are common. They have a love of nature, plants, and like to be outdoors, but they don't need much sun. As perfectionists, they often feel alienated. They react to emotions on an intellectual level. They can be critical and often think they know better. Because they need to see it to believe it, they have trouble with new belief systems. These ancient souls need to make logic sense of things before accepting it. They do not like socializing in large groups and need balance and must have privacy in order to recharge. They are very good at navigating through life as though a flowchart, always gathering data and spotting new trends. They are on a constant quest for knowledge and ask a lot of questions. This can make them seen as oppositional. They are a jack of all trades who love to make people laugh and are practical jokers. There have been thousands of anonymous witnesses over many decades that have witnessed UFOs and aliens, and most have chosen to keep quiet for fear of being ridiculed. But what if people with high social standings claim that UFOs and aliens not only exist, but some are living amongst us? Doesn't that give this subject more credibility, and shouldn't governments of the world now stand up and take notice? Or maybe governments and the military have always known that extraterrestrials exist and have chosen to keep these facts from us for fear of mass hysteria. The following are 5 prominent citizens who would have us believe that maybe we are not alone in the universe. Number 5. Edgar Mitchell, NASA astronaut. Edgar Mitchell was a NASA astronaut and the 6th man to set foot on the moon. In 2004, he told the St. Petersburg Times that a cabal of insiders in the US government was studying recovered alien bodies, and that this group has stopped briefing US presidents after John F. Kennedy. He said, "We all know that UFOs are real. Now the question is where they come from." On July the 23rd, 2008, Edgar Mitchell was interviewed on Kerrang Radio, where he claimed the Roswell crash was real and that aliens have contacted humans several times, but the governments have hidden the truth for 60 years, stating, "I happen to have been privileged enough to be in on the fact that we've been visited on this planet and the UFO phenomenon is real." In 2015, Mitchell made an astonishing claim that it was aliens, not diplomacy, which prevented the Cold War from descending into the Third World War. In a Daily Mirror interview, Mitchell said extraterrestrials were interested in our military capabilities. "My own experience talking to people has made it clear that the ETs have been attempting to keep us from going to war and help create peace on Earth." Number 4. Charles Hall, nuclear physicist. Charles Hall, a nuclear physicist and ex-military American weather specialist, claims that the United States military has been in contact with an alien species for years. He says the aliens were dressed as humans and even visited Las Vegas. In 1964, when he was a weather observer at Nellis Air Force Base in Nevada, he witnessed interaction between the military and a group of tall, white, human-like extraterrestrials. And when you encounter them, it's such a shock you're not sure if you're looking at a ghost or an angel. Mr. Hall said he had contact with 3 types of aliens: the tall whites, about 2.5 meters tall, greys with yellow-orange skin, and what were called the Norwegians, with 24 teeth, who look like humans and speak English and dress like humans. They were principally involved in technology transfer with the US military, and their crafts were capable of travelling faster than the speed of light. Number 3. Stanton Friedman, nuclear physicist. In 1968, Friedman told a committee of the US House of Representatives that the evidence suggests that Earth is being visited by intelligently controlled extraterrestrial vehicles. He also stated that he believed that UFO sightings were consistent with magneto-hydrodynamic propulsion, which is a method for propelling vessels using only electric and magnetic fields with no moving parts. Friedman has a long history with military and government contractors and the field of ufology. Friedman has hypothesized that UFOs may originate from relatively nearby sun-like stars, and a piece of evidence that he often cites is the 1964 star map drawn by alien abductee Betty Hill during hypnosis, where Marjorie Fish, an astronomer, constructed a 3-dimensional map of the nearby sun-like stars, such as Zeta Reticuli, about 39 light-years distant. Friedman claims that we have enough proof without a shadow of a doubt that Earth has been and is being visited by aliens. Number 2. Neil Armstrong, astronaut, engineer. Neil Armstrong, who was the first man on the moon, claims that there were ships and structures on the moon that were not human-made. Fellow astronaut Buzz Aldrin also witnessed these abnormalities, and when they both reported back to Houston, their information was censored from the American people, apparently to keep the country from rising in panic. In an interview, Armstrong claimed that whilst on the moon, they were warned off and that their ships were far superior to ours in both size and technology. Neil Armstrong relayed the message to Mission Control that two large mysterious objects were watching them after having landed near the moon module, but his message was never heard by the public because NASA censored it. Number 1. Fife Symington, former Governor of Arizona. In 1997, during his second term as Governor of Arizona, Fife saw something that defied logic and challenged his reality. He witnessed a massive delta-shaped craft silently navigate over Squaw Peak, a mountain range in Phoenix, Arizona. He said it was truly breathtaking and he was absolutely stunned because as he was turning to the west looking for the distant Phoenix lights, to his astonishment this apparition appeared, this dramatically large, very distinctive leading edge with some enormous lights was travelling through the Arizona sky. As a pilot and a former Air Force officer, he said that this craft did not resemble any man-made object he'd ever seen. The authorities claimed that it was high-altitude flares, but this was certainly not flares because flares do not fly in formation. The bizarre story of this mystery sphere spread like wildfire through the international media. On May 26, 1974, Terry Matthew Betz, a 21-year-old pre-med student, along with his mother Jerry and his marine engineer father Antoine, were inspecting the damage caused by a brush fire that had raged across an 88-acre swath of woodland that they had recently acquired on Fort George Island, which is east of Jacksonville, Florida. They stumbled across a peculiar, highly polished metal orb that was just under 8 inches in diameter. The only delineating mark that the three could find on the eerily unblemished object was an elongated triangular shape stamped into its surface. The Betz family wondered whether or not they might have stumbled across some kind of downed NASA or maybe even Soviet satellite. Perhaps they even speculated that the friction-induced heat of this object plummeting from its orbit might have had something to do with the fire that had ravaged the property. But none of them could find any signs of an impact crater or any indication of collision or heat damage on the gleaming metal globe. They took the object home, where Terry then placed the orb on a window seat in his bedroom, and there the anomalous object remained for 2 weeks, when Terry decided to entertain his friend, Teresa Fraser, with a guitar recital in his room, eliciting some unusual reactions from the orb. As he began strumming his guitar, the metallic ball started to vibrate like a tuning fork, and began emitting a throbbing sound in response to certain notes. This sound was accompanied by what seemed to be an inaudible resonance that disturbed the Betz' family dog. The family began to notice some of the sphere's other peculiar attributes. They observed that when the orb was pushed across the floor, it would stop, vibrate for a moment, change direction, often more than once, and invariably return to whoever first rolled it. On one occasion, it rolled for 12 minutes straight without a single pause. The family also noticed that it appeared to be responsive to weather conditions, becoming more active on bright days as opposed to overcast days, as if it were being directly affected by the solar energy. Terry then began to conduct a series of experiments on the object. He tapped the orb gently with a hammer, which resulted in a bell-like ringing sound. Then he placed the object on the flat glass surface of the coffee table, where the smooth sphere would consistently roll right to the precipice of the glass surface, pause, and then reverse its direction, only to stop again at the opposite edge and repeat the maneuver. The family began considering the possibility that this object was equipped with a sophisticated guidance system or was perhaps being intelligently controlled. They decided that the sphere almost certainly appeared to be striving to get safely to the ground without falling. One of the family members decided to slant the table at an upwards angle, and the orb began to spin up the incline, utilizing its own momentum, which defied the laws of gravity. It also showed a sensitivity, whereas if you shook the ball vigorously and then placed it on the ground, it acted like a huge Mexican jumping bean trying to get away from you. The Betz family was so concerned about the sphere's clear ability to independently navigate its way around their home that they took to placing it in a sealed bag at night so that the object couldn't escape. After days of watching the sphere perform these incredible feats, the family decided that it was time to go to the public and to try to find out just what it was they had in their possession. They went to the local newspaper, who were intrigued by their story and sent out photographer Longenger to get the story and snap a few pictures. Mrs. Betz instructed Enger to give the ball a little shove across the floor. She told him to put it on the floor and give it a push. It rolled a short distance and then stopped. Then it turned by itself, and at about 4 feet it stopped. Then it turned again and rolled to the left about 8 feet, made a big arc and returned to his feet. Enger examined the steel ball and could find no seams and no indication of a manufacturer on the surface, save for a triangular symbol stamped on its side. As soon as he relayed his story to his editor, the paper published its account, and within days it became a worldwide story. Representatives of both the US Marine Corps and NASA contacted the Betz family, as did UFO investigators representing the Ariel Phenomena Research Organization known as APRO, and unanimously left intrigued by the sphere's strange abilities. A Marine spokesman admitted on television that the ball had behaved strangely in his presence and conceded that he was unable to explain its origin, and an official press release issued by the Marines publicly stated that the ball was not the property of the United States government. The sphere stayed in the Betz family home until an unusual series of events forced the family to wonder whether the orb was capable of channeling or unleashing supernatural forces, as things took a weird turn. The family reported they started to hear strange organ-like music wafting through the house at night, even though there was no such instrument in their home. Then doors began slamming by themselves day and night. The family decided that it was time they got to the bottom of this mystery and decided to hand the sphere over to the scientists posted at the Jacksonville Naval Air Station. The initial efforts of the Navy metallurgists were met with dead ends, as their X-ray machines were not strong enough to penetrate the orb. They then used a more powerful machine on it and ran a spectrograph test to determine what metal it was made of. They concluded that the shell of the orb was approximately 1/2 inch thick, which, according to the report, could withstand a pressure of 120,000 pounds per square inch. The alloy is a magnetic nickel-bearing stainless steel designed for heat treatment to the highest mechanical properties and corrosion resistance. The Navy team's powerful X-ray also discovered 2 round objects inside the sphere, surrounded by a halo made of a material with an unusual density. They also noted that the sphere displayed 4 different magnetic poles, 2 positive, 2 negative. The Navy also concluded that while the orb was intensely magnetic, it did not show signs of radioactivity and did not appear to be an explosive. At this point, the Navy scientists wanted to cut into the object to get a better look, but the Betz family steadfastly refused. The Navy returned the sphere, and questions remain as to the origin and identity of the strange object. At this point, the Betz family began to seriously consider the possibility that they were in possession of a genuine extraterrestrial technology. On April 13, 1974, Dr. Carl Wilson from the research firm known as Omega-1 Institute in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, examined the sphere for over 6 hours and discovered radio waves coming from it and a magnetic field around it. Dr. Wilson confirmed the Navy's discovery of multiple poles within the sphere, as the flux density of the field appeared to fluctuate in potency based on an as yet unidentified pattern and defied the known laws of physics. He suggested that the metal that made up the shell of the orb, while comparable to stainless steel, contained an unknown element, making it slightly different from steel. Dr. Wilson also witnessed the sphere's ability to propel itself across surfaces and abruptly change directions. One of the theories posited was that it might be a damaged extraterrestrial probe, or perhaps even some sort of anti-gravitational device. Finally, the Institute's findings regarding the identity of the mystery sphere were just as inconclusive as the Navy's, and the Betz family were no closer to the truth. Dr. James Albert Harder, Professor of Civil and Hydraulic Engineering at the University of California at Berkeley, also examined the object and noted that an X-ray of the sphere showed 2 internal spheres after the X-ray bombardment rendered the shell invisible, which indicated that the internal material is more dense than the stainless steel shell. Thus, a substantial portion of the weight in the internal material and the shell could be much thinner than 1/2 inch. In the final conclusions based on his X-ray studies, Dr. Harder asserted that the two internal spheres were made of elements far heavier than anything known to science, with the heaviest element occurring naturally on Earth being uranium, with an atomic number of 92. Harder claims to have determined that the Betz sphere has atomic numbers higher than 140. If one were to drill into the sphere, he asserted, perhaps the masses would go critical and explode like an atomic bomb. Harder went on to warn an assembled audience of scientists and UFO investigators that any attempt to discern the contents of the sphere might unintentionally set it off, or possibly offend its extraterrestrial creators. Many decades have now passed, leaving the obvious question, what the hell was it? Leaving behind both industrial and satellite theories, the orb seemed to have an eerie resemblance to the reported World War II aerial phenomenons known as Foo Fighters. During World War II, Allied and enemy aircraft pilots began to describe frightening encounters with small, glowing, silver-coloured spheres in the skies over Germany and the Pacific. These strange airborne anomalies appeared to follow both the Allied and enemy planes individually and in clusters. They were able to maneuver around the planes at tremendous rates of speed and dexterity. These peculiar machines seemed to toy with the crew of these aircraft, but exhibited no hostile actions. The phenomenon was never explained, and most of the information about the issue has never been released by military intelligence. We may never know what the Betz mystery sphere was, and the question we now ask is, where is it now? And whatever happened to the sphere? Is Terry Betz or one of his relatives still in possession? Maybe it's just collecting dust in someone's basement, just waiting for someone to discover its secret and true purpose on Earth.